Hello, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us for our regular 4 p.m. Pacific time, or a couple minutes early today, session where we take your questions live on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Again, taking general questions about educational purpose questions about U.S. immigration. There's a lot going on. It's a very confusing process and stressful process. People are really stressing out with the things that are happening, and really, it's something is to stress about because the way they're doing things, handling things in the immigration system. Thankfully, the pushback when it comes to people really dissatisfied has somewhat affected administration, but they're attacking in other ways that really just don't make sense the way they're treating people. And hopefully, that kind of thing will change with God willing your help. And more reasonable practices come. I'm not saying you don't have enforcement and control of the immigration system, but just kind of thinking it through. The way that's happening right now is just not the way to go. So God willing, cooler heads will prevail, and we'll be able to help people in a proper way, let them do it. The problem is you're just breaking down the whole system as it is, regardless of whether it's legal, even if it's legal immigration. So if you are having questions, please ask here. If you want to schedule a private consultation, please go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact. Fill in the box there with some more information about your background, and that way we could follow up with you to schedule a consultation if necessary and fill you in on other things related to immigration law that you need to know. I also want to mention that we have 2 free guides: Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide, and that goes with A to Z's of the marriage and immigration process. You could download that free guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Again, the website is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. And if you're going through the citizenship process, you could download the Ultimate Naturalization Citizenship Guide. That guide is located at jqqlaw.com/citizenship. You'll find it very helpful to get a basic understanding of both these processes before you even start, before you even talk with a lawyer. It's going to be very helpful, I guarantee. And then, having said that, let's start the show. We got initial questions. Daniel says, "Hello, attorney. Nice to see you again." Same here, Daniel. Appreciate that. Pookie Girl says, "My husband is a green card holder, and I live in Montreal as a permanent resident. How long would it take to get a spouse visa? It was applied for in April 2025. So, Pookie Girl, somewhat it depends on what country you're from, to your country of birth. That could affect things. But let's say you're not a person that's affected by country of birth. It'll take 1 year and a half to 3 years for that initial I-130 petition to be approved, since your husband's a U.S. green card holder resident, not a U.S. citizen. And then once that's approved, you have to work with the National Visa Center, get an interview in Montreal Embassy in Canada. That'll probably take another 6 months or a year, probably. There's an issue of the visa bulletin, which is the line for people in your case, how long it'll take, and that goes up and down. So that's a wild card there. And again, depending on your background, what country you're from, what history you have, that could add delays as well. But easily in your case, looking 2.5 to 4 years average. It was 5 years average. So it's gone down because the visa bulletin got faster. But those are the things you need to think about and potentially is going to come up when it comes to timelines. Born in India. So the F2A category, this is spouse of a green card holder. I don't think there is a extra delay for Indian spouses, whereas like if you're a brother or sister of an Indian person, or you're Indian applying for a work green card, maybe 2 category 3, those have huge delays. But I'm double checking a thing called the visa bulletin right now that has a timeline for your category, and to see if there's any difference. And you just go to Google, type in visa bulletin, and the first link usually is it. Every month this is updated. And yeah, so India has no difference in timeline than everyone else. And currently, I mean, it's sped up. The chart is much faster than it was. But essentially, because of the delays and backlogs, probably take 2 or 3 years to get that done. If you applied in April, it'll still be a bit. Now, it could be faster. It could go faster. Because these immigration stuff change. Sometimes it's really fast and it slows down. Sometimes it's slow and it fast up, speeds up. Unifer says, "Having an interview for the F-21 category next month. My country just got added to the partial ban. Should I be worried? I got to see if you're going through, consular processing, USCIS. Which country is it? Which type of ban are you affected by? I need more information. Should you be worried? You should have an immigration attorney that's with you already, answering these kind of questions if that's the case, to be prepared, because you might need some additional documentation, preparation, background stuff. And so the right way to do it is have like an advocate on your side that can help you." Pookie says, "Thank you so much." You're welcome, Pookie. I appreciate that. And download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide, 70 plus pages of real good guidance and information there, general education only. Go to the website is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. And thank you everyone for liking on TikTok. We have a lot of liking. Feel free to share the feed so others can know we're here to take their questions about U.S. immigration. That'll be a good way. Danny, George, thank you so much for liking the live show. I appreciate it. Everyone on Instagram too, thanks for joining, and all over the internet. So the big news really right now, and I say big news, there's so much big news that happens every day. They're changing so much of the system. But Tima says, does the partial travel ban affect adjustment of status? So yes, if you're the so-called travel ban pause or pause on immigration cases for people that are part of the travel ban system or listing, it affects USCIS stuff, includes adjustment of status, change of status, I-130s. We don't exactly know how it's going to play out and what the pause actually means and how they're going to let people off it. But it's starting and is affecting those people. For example, if they have a citizenship case approved at the interview and they're waiting for their oath ceremony, they will not schedule an oath ceremony. And even if they had an oath ceremony for naturalization scheduled, then they will deschedule them. It's pretty bad. Or just pull them out of the line on the day of the oath ceremony. It happens. And some people who've gotten green cards recently have been having their green cards rescinded. So it's a really nasty situation. Femi Kruk says 20 countries have just been added to the expanded travel ban list. What will happen to people already in the U.S. trying to do adjustment status who are on the new expanded list? So I'm not sure whether that travel ban expansion just happened like an hour ago or something like that. Trump expands travel ban. Oh my God, yes, an hour ago exactly. To 5 more countries opposed to notice and others. So I have to read this. Honestly, it just came out recently. I mean, here the Washington Post says it came out 4 minutes ago. So I haven't read what it is. It's a nightmare. So if you're a part of the list, oh my God, it's going to affect so many clients. It's terrible news. Essentially, we don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but it's going to pause things, to cause delays and more issues where they might question your safety in the United States, all sorts of crazy stuff. Did I get rid of the Instagram feed by accident? I'm sorry if I did. Let me see. Where is Instagram feed? Oh my God. So yeah, for those just asking about the partial crutch ban just added, I just happened a few minutes ago, so I don't have the ability. I haven't read it yet, so I can't answer that. Now it says my country is on the partial ban list, but the list doesn't include adjustment of status. It only says B1, F1. So the travel ban list is for getting a visa interview overseas. There's a travel ban list in the United States for certain countries that'll cause issues. So we got to see exactly what country you're from and what these new updated things are. The problem is when they're issuing these memorandums and executive orders, they're not very specific on what they're doing. It's not good legal work. It's not very specific, probably intentional. So it's vague, and that's why it's hard to answer a lot of these questions, because they're just intentionally being vague about things. Oh, man. Okay, Ash says, what about adjustment of status for green card spouse? How long does that take? It depends on the case, if you're travel ban or not, but it could take 2 or 3 years easily. Donald says, I have biometrics appointment on January 9th and a consular interview on January 23rd. I'm considering traveling on December 27th, but I would appreciate advice on whether it's advisable to travel in India. If you have a consular interview on 23rd, don't get travel plans. Where are you going to travel to? But they may hold on to your passport, not get your passport back. So in general, you shouldn't have travel plans after a consular interview. But I don't know the details of your case. You really should have an immigration, or you should ask talking with private, because that's really practical, one-on-one, unique kind of individual advice that you need. Cat Lord says hi to you as well. Loyal says, if you got advanced parole card via VAWA, is it safe to travel throughout the United States? So advanced parole doesn't give you status by itself, so it doesn't add anything to you. I do not at this point recommend traveling even inside the United States if you are out of status. The administration even mistakenly might hold you, even though, and not mistakenly, because having a VAWA case pending, they're saying doesn't automatically give you deferred action. So no, it's not recommended to travel and fly around the United States if you're out of status in any way, despite having work authorization, despite having advanced parole. Universe says, what's the difference between a partial ban and a full ban for consular processing? Well, the partial trial bans, they're like not letting certain types of visas be issued, but the full trial ban, it's all visa types. So it's you got to read the trial ban itself, the executive order, and it specifies which country has what restrictions, and that's what it is. Full restrictions or partial, depending on the situation that they think with that country. Maybe student visas, maybe they'll allow tourist visas, maybe not tourist visas, but work visas. It's all over the place. Ash says, I mean, adjustment of status on green card holder inside the United States, not overseas, also take 3 years. Yeah, there's a visa bulletin delay that backed things up. Just recently got faster. Visa bulletin delay was saying 3 or 4 years. So adjustment of status is going to take a bit easily. I mean, it could be faster because things are faster, but most likely 2 or 3 years right now. But again, the timeline I say today can completely change on January 1st. The situation changes monthly on that. Oh, okay, I sent the invitation to someone by accident. Homebomb says, apart from marrying a U.S. citizen, are there any other options for someone who overstayed a visitor visa to regularize that status? If you overstayed your status, you're limited on what you can do legally, other than maybe filing for asylum, U visa. This is a victim of a serious crime, maybe witness of a serious crime as well, and abused by U.S. citizen child, for example, marriage to U.S. citizen. Asylum, I think I might have mentioned, cancellation removal, withholding, this kind of stuff in court. Or there's one more, maybe VAWA. I said VAWA. Essentially, the really extreme kind of stuff if you're out of status. And even now in the Trump administration, if you have a good case for one of these, they can still detain you and try to deport you despite that. So that's the big picture for that one. Texas says, waiting on a green card renewal, but never got notice of extension. Now green card expired. What do I do? You have to contact USCIS and ask him what didn't get the receipt notice. Please send it because I need proof of extension. And so a lot of times they won't send it. So you have to get a green card stamp. Say, I need proof of it. I don't have the extension notice. If you're not going to send it, please let me get a green card stamp, an ADIT, an ADIT stamp, or send something. You got to call and talk with them. Nell says, right now options are limited. I have a pending adjustment of status. I'm still in status, but if my status runs out, I get detained. Not necessarily. If you're in San Diego, yeah, but like most places, not yet. If I leave, there's a travel ban and won't be able to come back. This is confusing. Yeah, that's intentional. And now that's intentionally designed to be this way. Now, if you have an adjustment status case pending, I just don't recommend leaving the United States. I don't know if they'll let you back in, but you got to see, you got to talk and see what's going on in your unique case. But having said that, it's intentionally made like this to create havoc and distress for people so they don't even come to the United States. Pookie says, is there any possibility of getting a tourist visa while the petition is pending? There's possibility. People have done it. Usually they won't approve it, but sometimes they do. Catlor says, if I get married in India, how do I apply for a green card for my husband? Well, download our guide, Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. MarriageImmigrationLaw.com is the website. MarriageImmigrationLaw.com. If you get married in India, just like any other thing, you get married and you file the petition. I mean, what is it that's confusing you? Let me know a better question, more pointed question, so I can answer that. Tucker truck driver says, please, can you tell me I'm from Somalia with refugee 2 years ago, then I applied. I don't know what the question is to tell you, so I can't really answer that. AI says, pass N400 last week. Would I still get an O ceremony citizen of Syria? Is Syria still on the travel ban list? I'm not sure. If they are, then they won't approve it. The full security travel ban list. What are the countries on it? Let's see. USCIS, O ceremony, Iran, travel ban. I can't remember if Syria is still on the list of the countries affected by it. These are countries where they say we don't have enough like security information or afraid of them doing stuff. But where's the list of countries? And I typically deal with Iranian cases, sometimes maybe Yemen. So I don't deal with Somali cases per se, but they're on the list. But I haven't done a Syrian case in a while, so it hasn't come up to me. But the biggest population are Iranians of that. So okay, I'm pulling it up. This is the BBC.com, it's the first website that came up, and it's not pulling it up. My computer's kind of slow, so it's hard for me. So yeah, you have to look it up. Just look at the travel ban list, the USCIS memo, and answer it there. Kyler says, I want to get married in India and apply for a green card for my husband. Want him to live in America. Sorry, bad typing. Okay, are you a U.S. citizen or a green card holder? That becomes an important question. But essentially, you get married, you file a petition, I-130, and you wait for that to get approved, and then you do consular processing, help through the embassy system, and get him to the United States. All shall pass says, please, what does it mean when your asylum application is pending? It means it's pending. They're waiting to have an interview with you to review it still. If you haven't already, please share this live feed and invite your friends to come in and ask questions. Truck driver says, I applied my green card before 1 year. If you're a Somali, they're going to pause the case. I think you said you're Somali. So yeah, they're not going to approve that case right now for Somalis probably. They're just going to sit on it. I'm not sure what they're going to do. This is just all new made up stuff they're doing. Brian says, I missed a yearly check-in and was out in habeas corpus. Any advice in 3 years? I don't handle those kind of cases, but it's going to be bad news. Mbaki says, I have a temporary I-551 pending I-765. Can I travel? Can you travel? I don't know enough information about you individually to make a recommendation or advising like that. Generally, people can travel with their I-751 pending, but whether you can, I can't answer that question. Charlie says, how long does it take, please? There's no timelines whenever they want to approve it. It could be 3 months. It could be 6 years. I've seen both. Femicrux says, grad student here. My I-20 will expire May 2026, and I likely need to apply for extension. Should USCIS cancel DS? Well, if you already have DS, then they're not gonna. They can't cancel it. This is for new people. I have an approved I-140 for EB2 and IW. Would there be a conflict of dual intent? So not really, because you're not going to be extending it. So that's you continue file for OPT or continue going to a higher level school, and that usually doesn't trigger stuff because again you don't need to do extension because you already have DS. This is for new cases, but we'll have to see how the final rule looks too. That could change things. So Afghan's fully banned for now. I think so. I don't have any Afghan cases, but from recall, like they're all banned essentially. But what a disastrous situation. They added all these people to this pause. I got to see what's going on. All right, let's see. Remind me. Okay. From today's announcement, right? So I haven't read today's announcement. It just happened. So what Afghan's ban was already happened last week after the Thanksgiving issue. Alex says, can I file a juvenile record? I'm 29 years. Can I file with the juvenile record? I'm 21 now. Typically, yes, but really, I don't know. You have to see what your record is and what. I mean, if the record is that your national security situation, I don't want to go details of saying that on these online platforms. And no, so Alex, if you got situation, TikTok isn't the place to ask questions. You need to get actual like a lawyer helping you on that. Anytime you have criminal history, arrests and stuff, you need to have the whole record. Talk to a lawyer about it. A lot of times, most of the time, these are when you're a juvenile, the situation is waived because you're under 18. But at the same time, there could be certain exceptions to that. We got to see exactly what happened. And people sometimes say juvenile, but they're 19. And so they could be problematic. Like the crime happened when they were 17, but the court stuff didn't finish. They were 19 and they're in juvenile, but they're not considered. There's all sorts of nuances that have to happen. That requires deep research and discussion to get into that. Really interested in reading what this so-called updated travel ban is, but we started the show. Oh my God, it's gonna create. I'm gonna get so many emails right now. The countries. This is NBC News. I'm reading the top of it. It says countries added to the list are Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, South Sudan, and Syria. Oh, Syria's added. Okay. People with Palestinian Authority issued travel documents are also fully restricted from U.S. travel. So I have actually someone like that. They have a green card. I gotta tell them not to travel. Dang, that's hardcore. Anything else added to Iran? So wow. Well, I gotta see what it says. It was terrible news for people in those countries that just try to live an honest life. Canadian citizen Raya says, okay, let's go back to the front. Hello, sir. Never received anything for USCIS other than my estimated time to final decision changed to 11 months. Those timelines for USCIS don't mean anything, so just ignore those. It counted down to 0 a few months ago, but yesterday just went up 11 months. Canadian citizen born in Iran. Well, Raya, I don't know what kind of case you have, so I can't begin to answer that other than the fact that whatever is listed as estimated times, these are worthless. Don't get. A lot of people regularly come on the show thinking they do anything. Married to U.S. citizen filed I-485 in June 11, 2024. So that case is paused right now for Iranians. We're not clear what's going to happen. They said they're paused for whatever that means. They're probably going to want additional identity documents from you and prove that you're like not a national security threat, whatever that means. How are you going to show that? But this is also new. There's no answer, but probably your case is paused right now. Braka says, hello, Milo's here. Question, I got approved for M400 based on marriage, and I'm waiting to take an oath now in New York City. Now my wife wants to file for divorce. Should I go through with an oath? So for M400 based on a 3-year marriage, if you look up in the USCIS policy manual, it says this. The reason why I reference saying look that up is because sometimes the officers don't know this, but you have to be married and living together at the time you file the form M400. If you separate before that, you can still get the citizenship and oath ceremony as long as your divorce is not finalized by the time of the oath ceremony. So if you're just separated, but you're divorced, or even filed divorce, but the divorce is not finalized, you can still do the oath ceremony. But be prepared, have more evidence of your relationship in case for some reason they want to reopen it and question your marriage relationship being legitimate. You have that documentation available and that evidence available. But that's how the rules work, luckily, in your situation. So potentially you could probably get the oath ceremony as long as, again, the divorce is not finalized, and they'll let you keep it. Let's go back to Instagram, see if we got any questions there. Thank you everyone for joining us on Instagram. Let's go back to TikTok. Alex says, thank you. It's a lot of stuff to it. Yep. Tara says, can someone with pending asylum and no court date travel domestically? If you're out of status, I don't recommend traveling. Ariane says, hi, I'm a green card holder from Afghanistan waiting for my visa interview at Islamabad Embassy. Why would you need a visa interview if you're a green card holder? For my visas interview. I don't. Are you your spouses or what? I'm not sure. And Joe says, my son has joined the army, American citizen, 17 years old. I overstayed my visa. Can I apply for anything? If you entered with a visa, once your child is 21, they could apply for your green card. Typically, the what makes a difference for being a military family member is if you didn't enter with the visa, you would do a thing called parole in place that would act like that would a fiction that allows you to look like you enter lawfully. The government allows it. But having you enter lawfully, having a son in the military, it doesn't make it. It could make a difference in certain rare cases. You got to see what's going on, but generally it'll be around like wait for their 21. Sarah says, when will this pause end? Do you think? We have a president that just wakes up in the morning and makes things up. So whenever he wants it, I have no control or say, and there's no way I could judge what this president wants to do. So it's an impossible question. Ross says, I have like 20 affidavits for good moral character from mostly my wife and family's friend. Is that helpful? Should I submit it with I-130? Right. I don't know the details of your case. I can't advise it, but moral character letters, the friends of family will write anything. So I don't think that helps out, but you just got to wait to see what happens. This is all really new. So no one has an answer. They just made this stuff up last week. Never been done before. So, frankly, there's no answer. I know people are really, my clients, like, I need to do something. I need some control in the situation, but they're just doing things on a whim. So we got to kind of wait to see how it actually works out or what they ask of us and what we can do. Mumoto says, I-751 48-month extension for USCIS and on 47 months and not receive nothing for USCIS. Okay, just make sure track your case. If you can file for citizenship, maybe that's the thing to do. And if it expires, you got to request extension letters or aided stamp or something. Euroverios says, hi, Mr. John. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too. I'm a Venezuelan, one of the 19 countries considered a threat. Am I able to apply for naturalization starting December 26th since there's a hold right now? Should I apply? So the hold is like people who are national. I don't think Venezuela is on the hold list. I can't remember exactly. Honestly, I think people probably should apply. It's just like because eventually this will get fixed, or if it doesn't, at least you got to hold your place in the line for most cases. Whether you could apply, I need to look into your background, see what happened, how you got your green card. If you have national security issues, you have military history, your family's in the military. I look into all this stuff. So I can't advise you either way on whether you should hold or apply, stuff like that. That's too much individual legal guidance. I can't do just on a live show where I'm talking to myself in a room. But something to look into. Generally, for most people, I would say just file and have it in the system. John says, good evening, sir. Ticket, same to you. 3 people are peeking in. Try introducing yourself. Hi, again, I'm John Khosravi, immigration lawyer. I answer questions every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific about U.S. immigration law. Feel free to ask a question. MD says, when do you think they'll resume asylum decisions? That's if I knew these, if I could tell the future, I'd be going and making money gambling in the stock market. Moat says, what happens when you call USCIS on the inquiry date when they take too long? They'll probably say we can't do anything, but you're gonna give it a shot. They'll probably say tough luck, can't do anything. That's what they'll probably say. All right, everyone who's liked on TikTok, thank you so much for liking and sharing the feed. We're almost at 500. Appreciate it. Wally, feel free to ask a question about U.S. immigration if you have any. Everyone else, jump in and feel free to ask your questions. We take green card, visa interview questions, all that kind of stuff. If you haven't already, download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. The website downloaded for free is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. It's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. We also have an Ultimate Citizenship Guide, Ultimate Naturalization Citizenship Guide. If you want to download that one, go to jqqlaw.com/citizenship. Again, that's jqqlaw.com/citizenship. And obviously, the big news today is this new travel ban extension. Because it just happened shortly before the show, the announcement, I haven't been able to answer questions on it, other than the fact that a lot of cases are on pause, on hold in the United States. Before, these travel bans only affected people through the embassy, but the administration is putting these out inside the United States as well, and it's just getting worse and worse. It seems the president is just really attacking the immigration system every way he can. It's a distressing fact for people just going through the system. Now, if you go to their website, they don't have any update about this right now. A lot of times they announce these things and then later on, they'll tell us what it actually means because they make a lot of off-the-cuff comments and stuff. Rhonda, thanks for joining. Rafa, thanks for joining. Feel free to shoot out your questions about U.S. immigration law. We'll answer them here. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi, founder of the JQK law firm, handling marriage, green cards, people with extraordinary ability applying for green cards, small business owners, L1, starting a subsidiary in the United States, a parent company, or a whole new business with an E2 visa. These are the kind of things we handle. A lot of family stuff, consular processing, Child Status Protection Act analysis, re-entry permits, things that could really help people in practical. And we specialize on these nuanced topics. Again, the Child Status Protection Act and the former I-824, that's something most immigration lawyers haven't done and don't know much about, unfortunately, and that causes problems when they advise their clients. I just had a consultation yesterday where a lawyer, like, I think we'll be able to fix it because the guy contacted me in time, but the previous lawyer did really good work on other parts of the case, wasn't familiar with this, and sort of messed up, and potentially a child might not get a green card if they don't act fast enough. FCO says it can be applied for a resident with a DUI on these days. I think you're asking, can you apply for citizenship or residency, green card citizenship if you have a DUI? It's a negative indicator. Typically, one DUI is not a problem, but like the officer can hold that as discretionary against you and still deny both those cases on good moral character grounds. So if you have a situation like that, you got to show that you went to AA classes, you gave the money that you needed to pay for that, went to court, and also you do other good things for society. Well, it says, how long does it take to get an answer on the I-131? What if the date of intended departure is different? So it depends on what kind of I-131 you have. But if you're saying, for example, a re-entry permit, those are taking 1 to 2 years easily. And the date of departure and stuff, they're pretty flexible. We usually write TBD, meaning to be declared, because we never know when it's going to get approved. Cooking with Beach 6 says, my husband's I-130 is in USCIS for the last 32 months. When will I get approved? I don't know, but I'm guessing you're a green card holder filing for your spouse. Those will easily take 2 or 3 years. Texas Boy says, gold visa a viable path? I don't think so, because I don't think the president has the power to just make a green card category. Congress has to do that. So inevitably, I think that's in a rational world, I think that would get shot down when people sue on it. But with this Supreme Court, where it just says yes to whatever the president wants, I'm not sure what's going to happen. US user 530 says, hello, can waivers still be granted under current administration? Technically, yes. We had one approved a couple months ago, finally. But it's just, it's a lot going on. Brian says, how long will a pause last for Cuban Adjustment Act status? I don't know. I can't tell the future. I can't tell how long these things are passed. I'm going to pause. Boyu says, can someone lose citizenship without the decision from the judge? No, if you're going to take away someone's citizenship, there has to be a whole court case about that. That's not something that you can just take away from you. They have to really work at it. Now, potentially, they could not issue a passport or something like that. That's something different from citizenship. But that's just per travel permission. But you can't just take citizenship away from something like that, naturalized citizen. Obviously, a person born here, they're not going to take that citizenship away. Who knows? In this administration, anything's possible. But shoot out your last questions. We're going to end the show pretty soon. If you want to have a private consultation, go to jqqlaw.com/contact. Fill in the information there so we know about you and what kind of case you have. And then we'll respond with information on how to schedule a consultation session with us. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. We only do video consultations, so you can make sure it's me talking with you and have a real relationship, see each other face to face. Now, I don't do phone calls or that kind of stuff, or WhatsApp calls. Mirza says, how long is the 601 waiver for innocent misrepresentation? I don't think the innocent part makes a difference for that stuff, but 1 to 4 years, 2 to 4 years, more like it. MD says, what is going on with the green card lottery? Well, they keep saying we're going to make it, and it's not happening. So I don't know what's going to, I don't know. Rasoli says, do they have 2 more countries to the bans? They added some country bans, half an hour ago before the show started. I haven't read the announcement yet. Cooking with Boys says, I'm a green card holder. I applied for my Pakistani husband. So it's going to take forever, essentially. So probably a few more months till the I-130 is approved, but then another year or 2 for the embassy interview. For a Pakistani person, green card holder, spouse, these are easily taken through the embassy 5-6 years to finish, unfortunately. This is a disaster. Muad says, I-130 advanced parole pending I-485. What's the ETA? Essentially, none of my cases had the advanced parole I-130 approved because the I-485 gets approved so fast that the I-130 just becomes a waste of money. Nothing ever happens. So I don't have an ETA. The green card just gets done first. In all my cases. Now, it might not happen for everybody, but all my cases. User 53 says, thank you. Queen says, how long will pause last? You're asking the wrong person. You have to ask Donald Trump. President Donald Trump will have the answer for you on that. Milo says, question, after I become U.S. citizen, until what age do I need to bring my 3 kids to U.S. so they can get green cards? My kids are in EU with their mother right now. They are 13 and 10. For them to be able to get green cards, you just have to become green card holders before 21. And what happens is, you have until they're single and under 21 to be kids if you can apply for them. And what I'd recommend doing is get their green cards now, have them come live with you for 6 months, and just get them U.S. citizenship. And just get it done right now. And that's, just have a, semester or a year in the United States and go back, just solve that issue like that. Because it's going to be too much playing with fire to try to time it right. Mandeep says, what if my green card review comes after my visa expired? Do ICE arrest me or have temporary visa to live? So in San Diego, they're arresting people, but most parts of the country, they're not. Rasui says, do citizens can't travel to the banned countries? Do citizens can't travel to the banned countries? There's no travel ban against visiting those countries, but, I prefer not to, I don't know. They got to understand immigration. They make things up and they do whatever they want. It's national security. So, it's like there's no law per se, but we have to see what's happening. Texas Boy says, do it ASAP. Yeah. So we have a minute or two left in the show. If you haven't already, please click like on TikTok so we get more attention and get more people asking questions. Faduma Hassan, thanks for joining on the TikTok hour, TikTok half hour. We take your questions live by U.S. Immigration. I'm founder of the JQK Immigration Law Firm, helping married couples, families get green cards, visas, citizenship, naturalization, I-751s, and also EB-1A, extraordinary ability green cards, and L1, E2 small investor visas. Virgo says, how long my kids need to stay in the U.S. with me to get citizenship then? So once they come with the green card, there's no exact rule of how long they need to stay with you. The regulations just say they need to reside with you. And to be safe, I always say, go for a semester school, have the school listed on their report card address and show they're living here. You're listed as the parent on there so that if they later on question whether they resided with you, you have records. So they don't never spell it out what the exact rule is. Just the more they spend with you, the better. A lot of times people in your kind of condition, they have the kids come for a weekend or a month and leave. And later I've seen 10, 20, 30 years later, the U.S. Embassy won't renew a passport. It'll take it away, saying you didn't reside with the parent long enough. So the longer, the better. I say minimum 4 to 6 months. The more, the better. See you, user. Good to see you. Good afternoon as well. Mandeep says, do you accept the case for I-75 waiver with abuse to remove condition on conditional grade card? I don't accept every case. I need to talk with you to see if I accept you as a client, depending on your evidence, your documents, what you need, and also whether, frankly, we get along. So if sometimes it's rare, but I've had consultation people where they're just like yelling for no reason, screaming, and they're not rational and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't want this client. So sometimes people ask, how much is it cost for immigration? Like, it really depends on you and your background and, frankly, your personality. So if you're difficult, either I won't accept you as a client or I'm just going to charge more because I know you're like already yelling at me in a consultation. Normally, I wouldn't just accept you as a client, but if you're, not yelling too much or just the more rational, it can increase it because I got to deal with it. so how do I accept it? It really depends on you. Moad says, what is the advantage of hiring a lawyer after filing adjustment of status packet? So typically, I won't accept a case when someone already filed it because it creates more work. Usually people make so many errors, and it might not be the worst errors, but fixing that up takes so much more time that it's like it would have been less expensive if they hired us from the beginning. So 9 out of 10 times if someone already filed their case, we won't accept them as clients. It's just too much work and too much responsibility and too many mistakes that people make that create such a mess. But the advantages are if you hire good lawyers, they can pay attention, fix stuff up, because frequently if people file on their own, they say the wrong things in there or mistakes. They make mistakes in there. And that later on when they go to the interview, that becomes a problem. Or later on, when they file for citizenship, the officer looking at the citizenship case looks over your whole immigration history over again, and they look at adjustment of status and like, oh, why did you say this there? That's a problem, and that just destroys everything. So having an attorney that goes into detail, reading it, as aware and thinks long term and has experience, all that kind of stuff, could save you 5, 10, 15 years down the line from a lot of headaches. But it's up to people if they want to do it. That's up to them. But hiring good attorneys, always recommend for everything. Arshia says, is it safe to travel on advanced parole if I-485 pending? I don't recommend it unless you have a real emergency. Mirza says, I was married in a foreign but clerical mistake, ex-foreign spouse, name entered wrong in DS-160. I don't know. I have to see what happened. Your question doesn't fully make sense, but you got to correct it, or I got to see how deep it went, this error, because it's like I got to see what happened. It's too case specific. User 53 says, do you handle cases from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals? We don't do federal litigation or appeals work. Mirza says, can avoid misrepresentation if you get proof was married with divorce, ex-spouse just make entered wrong. It depends on what was wrong, what misrepresentation claim. Mirza, it's too personal question. I got to see what the error was, why the error was, what kind of visa it was, what kind of the documents look like, and a lot. But so that's too case specific. I need to really see what's going on with you. Raul says, hi, can we ask questions here, sir? You already did ask a question. Brock says, Milos again, so my kids can get their citizenship as fast as 4 to 6 months. They don't need to wait 5 years for citizenship. If the children are under 18 and they're living with you with the green card, so getting the green card may take a year or two. But if you're a green card, are you a citizen yet yourself, did you say? Or are you a green card holder, Burke? Okay. Once you're a citizen, file for your kids. They'll probably take a year and a half if they're in England. And to get here, And then once they reside with you, they could get really quick citizenship. Even like you could apply for the passport like a month or like a couple weeks after they come live with you. But it's better to apply for what's called a certificate of citizenship, form N600, for USCIS to issue a piece of paper, because the passport department sometimes gives passports fast and loose, but the USCIS needs documentation. So they get the passport in a week or two after coming, but wait for 6 months, have records are residing with you, school records, everything, life records, doctor's records, vaccine records. Send that to USCIS so it's in the system, and they'll, after 6 months, and they'll give you a certificate of citizenship. And that's the best solid thing, so that 4, 10, 15, 20 years from now, they don't have to be about stuff. That's the kind of thing it's better to have a consultation about, so we can really plan things out, because it's so important for the kids, and having strategy and just seeing what's going on in your life, because you might not be able to take on 2 kids right now. I have kids myself. It's not like they can just come here and live with you 6 months. There's a lot going on. So this is one of those things, Burko, you want to like sit and talk and maybe have the mother children come too and see what's going on, how the relationship works. That's going to be really key to just like plan things out. Raul says, I'm out of status, I'm married to a U.S. citizen, but I have been hearing ICE is grabbing people at I-485 interviews, so I'm confused. What should I do now? Well, we got to see what's going on. I mean, if you're in San Diego, it's problematic. That's primarily where we're doing it. But we got to, see if you have a removal order or anything like that. But potentially just may need to file. I mean, you got to talk strategy, see what's going on, and make a decision whether you want to risk it now, later, what your life looks like. Are you traveling? Did you have proper work history? There's just a lot to talk about, Rahul. So please schedule a consultation. jqqlaw.com/contact is the website. jqqlaw.com/contact. And also download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Proudy says, I will be applying for I-751 in 2027, but because of job, we need to live in different states. Is that a problem? Not necessarily. If you could document the reason for living separately, but you got to have other joint documents if you have a lease together. File taxes together, potentially. Have travel records to show you're flying back and forth to see each other. You have joint bank accounts, credit accounts. Maybe you do trips overseas together. You're having fun. You get invited to weddings. Both your names are in there. You just got to have a lot of documentary evidence and explain it's just a situation you're dealing with. You're welcome, Rahul. We'll answer a couple more questions and we'll call it a day. Let's see. Nawal says, what does the new proclamation mean for Venezuelan? Justin came on athlete visa. I don't know. I haven't read today's proclamation yet. I just started the show, so I haven't had a chance to read that. Jocelyn says, I received prima facie letter. Can they still deport me? Unfortunately, they can if you're out of status. They can, but whether they will or not depends on how strict they want to be at any time. Amanda says, we submitted the I-130 in Jan. Haven't heard anything. How long is it taking? Yeah, this is going to take a year. 12 to 14 months at least if you're married to a U.S. citizen. But there's different kinds of I-130, so it depends on which one. Do you handle Delaware state case, and how much you charge for second marriage-based case? So I don't handle Delaware state cases. I have federal immigration law. For second marriage-based, I got to see what's going on first before I say. It's not a good question how much you charge, because it's kind of like saying, it's too vague. We got to see what services you need and charge that. If I had a fixed price for how much I charge, I would just charge the maximum amount of $40,000 to cover everything. But I don't want to say $40,000 because you may only need $5,000 worth of legal services. So we got to see what you need and charge on that. Everyone needs different things. Everyone doesn't need the same kind of case. Everyone has different needs. So you got to see what's going on in your case first. So schedule a consultation, jqqlaw.com/contact. Can we apply for citizenship from a banned country? You could apply, but whether they're going to approve it or not, we don't know. We got to pause and we got to see what's going on. So we got to see what's going on in your case and make the best decision. I can't say something like that here. And that's about it. Alex, NIW I-140 pause right now. Yeah, everything's paused for Iranians right now. See what's going on. You can submit the case, but I'm not sure what's going to happen after that. And we got more proclamation questions, which I can't answer because it just came out. But also, I think it's just the president made up some stuff. So we got to get actual USCIS issuance of things to see what that says. So thank you for joining us. Come back next week. We'll have hopefully some better guidance and information on what's going on. I'm Immigration Lawyer John Khosravi. If you want to schedule a private consultation, please go to jqqlaw.com/contact, jqqlaw.com/contact. If you want to download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide, go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com, download that. And our Ultimate Naturalization Citizenship Guide, you can find that at jqqlaw.com/citizenship, 50 plus pages going down the immigration, citizenship, naturalization process. Help you out a lot. Trust me, I guarantee. All right, everybody. God bless. Be safe. Alex, thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.